Hello friends, we are here today in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1. So, this is the beginning of 2 Thessalonians. And what's interesting about 2 Thessalonians is that it's not like 2 Corinthians. Of course it wouldn't be, but 2 Corinthians is far in the future from when 1 Corinthians was written. I don't know how many years exactly, but there had been other letters before that. And the whole kind of spirit of the church has changed. And, Paul is correcting the church in a completely different way. But here, in 2 Thessalonians, it is right after the first letter. Maybe a matter of weeks, maybe days, maybe months, but it's not years. It's very soon after he wrote 1 Thessalonians. And it's really because they're still struggling with some of the same things, and so they need further clarification. So basically everything that's in 2 Thessalonians is really just him clarifying things that he mentioned briefly in 1 Thessalonians. And one thing that we're going to highlight in this chapter is the fact that the Thessalonians, the church there in Thessalonica, was very badly being persecuted. More so than the other churches. And not only were they being persecuted more, but they were very strong. They were a good church that was strong in their faith. And so he's saying, look, I commend you for being so great in love, and so great in faith that we thank God for you. He's addressing these afflictions that they're experiencing. He's saying something that is comforting to them. For the church here in the United States, I think it's kind of a stumbling block. And the idea is that God is going to judge them. There's going to be a judgment for the people that are persecuting them. If you talk to, and I mentioned this before, but if you talk to the churches today, if you talk to people that have a problem with Christianity, a lot of times they'll be like, I just don't know how I can believe in a God that would send someone to hell, or someone that would judge the world so harshly. When you live in an affluent community, you don't experience the afflictions that are experienced around the world today, but even more so throughout history. In between then and now, there has been a lot of affliction, a lot of bad things, and when we live a life that is, in the grand scheme of the world, we are very blessed in our lives compared to throughout history, and the afflictions that we get, which we are afflicted for being Christians. But not like they were before. We should know that is something that, to the church in Thessalonica, this is something that was very much appealing to them. To know that there's a God of justice. To know that there is justice in the world. And the people that have brought about injustice, that there's going to be a judge. Someday God is going to come down, and it says here in this chapter, he's going to come down with his mighty angels and his flaming fire, and he's going to judge the world. Now, again, to some might look at that and be like, wow, that sounds really scary. Yeah, it's really scary. But it's scary in a good way, because God is going to bring justice to his children. Think about it. If you had a son or a daughter that you loved very much, and someone is afflicting your children, what do you want to do to these people? What would you do if someone killed your children or really harmed them? What would you want to do? Now, in this earth, this puts us in a funny situation when you think about the judgment that God is going to bring. And you hear about how harsh it is. It gives us a new attitude toward the people that bring us injustice. I don't know about you, but when I think of people and the justice that they're going to give, it doesn't make me mad at them anymore. In fact, it makes me feel bad for them. And that's on purpose. You know, if you if you feel like God is a harsh judge, and that is bringing you to feel bad for the people, that is what God wants you to do. He wants you to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. This is the Sermon on the Mount. You know, I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. If you realize that there's a judgment, it is both comforting and it should draw you toward forgiveness. So that's what's happening in this chapter. If we should take anything away from it, it's that we should have compassion for those people. We should have compassion for the people that are afflicting us for being Christians, or even afflicting us for whatever reason at all. You know, there's a judgment that should draw you to Him, and it should draw you to love your enemies. So that is 2 Thessalonians chapter 1. Have a great day. Bye.